which is not, it's not, I don't know if it's enemy country right now, but it's not there and stay there. He thought that they would be forthcoming to him, and they murdered his parents. David's parents are killed by the king of Moab. He's there, but the point is,
God meant for him to take everybody?
No, it didn't. He didn't say that. It talked about only he himself. So according to the prophecy, he instructed David that maybe it'll be better to be preserved, to be watched, to be secure by going to Eretz Yehuda. But it means more than that. As the Radak says, David, of course, is from Eretz Yehuda. But more than that, he's going to find support in Yehuda. People know who he is, and in the event that Shaul makes an attempt to, God forbid, attack David, it'll be public information, and it could mean that maybe people in the Shevet Yehuda will stand up for David. More than that, the Abarbanel says that maybe this prophecy is a siman. For what is a siman? That you're now beginning your mamlacha, although you only have now 400 men. We've seen we mentioned this point. You've talked to the king of Moab. You've spoken before to Melech Achish, Melech Gat. Certain shades of kingdom are upon you, and now maybe this will be a sign that when David, in fact, takes over as king, first and foremost, it'll be only over Eretz Yehuda for 7 years, as we'll learn. Where his center will be where? In Hebron, as we learn. So therefore, that's the novelty, perhaps, of this. Do you remember that when we're hearing that David is moving to Eretz Yehuda, Shaul heard about this movement, and I don't know if we emphasize this enough, but the Tanakh is saying, well, what's going on in the other corner? So we're told in Pasuk Vav, V'Shaul Yoshev B'Giva Tachat Eshel Barama, Pasuk Vav of Perek Kaf Bet, of course. V'Chanito B'Yado, V'Chol Avadav Nitzavim Alav. What kind of description is the Tanakh sharing with us here? Okay? Rather, Shaul hears about David's activity. He's now moving from Chutz La'aretz, Eretz Moab, to here. And, wow, why is the Tanakh describing that's in the hand of Shaul is his chanit? Is it all day? Is it just in the morning? Why is it there? Rather, the Tanakh is telling us now that there's movement of David now into Eretz Yehuda. Shaul means business. Shaul means business. Therefore, by the fact that the Tanakh is describing that he has a spear in his hand, it's showing that he's ready to do what? To fight. He's ready to fight. And of course, for us, it's a sad matter that two leaders of Israel, Shaul, is out to kill David. Now, after we learned that Shaul ridiculed his advisors, his cabinet, right? He had a cabinet meeting where most, of course, his advisors are who? B'nai Binyamin, by nature. He himself is from Binyamin. And he tells them off as if they're really part of what? The team of supporters of David. And he really tells them off. It's a sad situation that he's so mad at them. And everyone here that's talking about David, whether it's Shaul, whether it's Doeg Adami, they're all belittling him, calling him Ben Yishai, not calling him the honor of David. And yesterday we saw the sharp tongue, as we saw in the words of David in Tehillim, of Mr. Doeg. And if we try to analyze the Lashon Hara that he told yesterday, we all know what he told. Let's review. First, he says David went to Achimelech, and Achimelech gave him. No, he was asking B'Shem Hashem. He asked a question. I gave him the ability to ask a national question, which is a lie. It's apparently maybe David asked for it and not Achimelech offering it. Okay. Number two, what else did he do? Achimelech offered him what? Tzeidah, food. And Cherev Goliath Plishti Natan Lo. We see, according to the klalim of Rechilot and Lashon Hara, some of the facts he's telling him, but the way he's sorting the facts, the way he's organizing the facts, that certainly has negative connotation. And we should just know, the Gemara says, regarding the klalim of Lashon Hara, the Chafetz Chaim writes, in his very important Sefer called Chafetz Chaim, Hilchot Lashon Hara, he writes regarding Rechilot. Some of you know, when we deal with Rechilot, the Torah says in Vayikra Yutet, Lo telech Rachil be'amecha. Rachil could be a peddler. You know what a peddler is? It's a merchant that goes from one place to another place to sell whatever
educational toys.
Right, you know. And interesting enough, look at the Smichot Parshiot. We have two different matters inside one pasuk. It says, Lo telech Rachil be'amecha. Don't be, telling Rechilot. We'll soon categorize what this Lashon Hara of Rechilot is about. And then the Torah says, Lo tamod odam reacha. Don't stand on the blood of your friend. Ani Hashem, I'm God. Meaning, if you see your friend in danger, you have to go out and save him. Why is it that the Torah is putting together the laws of Lashon Hara and Lo telech Rachil be'amecha? For instance, one of the great Rishonim that wrote on the laws of Tshuva is Rabbeinu Yonah, right? Rabbeinu Yonah in Spain, 11th, 12th century. He writes a sefer called Sharei Tshuva. We have it, the Gates of Penitence. And he writes the following. V'huzharnu al zeh min Torah. We were warned for these matters from the Torah. Quote, the Torah states, Lo telech Rachil be'amecha, not speaking Lashon Hara. That is Lashon Hara. U'v'bichlal kat misaprei Lashon Hara. What the Torah is here talking about, you're becoming part of a sect, a gang. Meaning you're doing it habitually, not once or not twice, but you're part of a sect. You're talking Lashon Hara every day. 2 o'clock comes, Lashon Hara phone calls to these people and that people. You're doing these matters. Kimo, Zachru Rabbeinu Zal, our Chazal mentioned, quote, on who? Al Doeg Adumi. And what do Chazal call him? A Baal Lashon Hara. What do Chazal mean when they call a person a
Master.
What do you mean? A master of Lashon Hara? Meaning?
That means they professionalize it. That's like they use that as...
It's part of their Havai. It's part of their system of talking.
They can control people. They can manipulate people.
That's correct.
They can attack people.
Right. No, there's not someone that, once or twice is failing in these matters, but doing it several times. So I want you to know, that's exactly what the Gedolim write. The Chafetz Chaim writes, and I'm quoting, and the Rambam as well, Hamiragel b'chavero. If you tell bad news about your friend, you're over the lav of Lo telech Rachil be'amecha, and you may cause the killing of people. And where is it learned from? It's learned from Doeg Adumi. Okay?
So what was that?
1 second, the Mechilta says, Doeg, because he caused the killing of the city of Kohanim, that's because he spoke Lashon Hara. Now, Rechilot, like we said, is like a peddler. You reveal things and you keep on going from place to place and tell these matters. Kachamar ploni alecha. Do you know what Achimelech did about you? He helped your enemy out. That's what Doeg was doing. Kachamar ploni alecha, kach wasalecha. Now it could be that what is being told is not even gunut, is not even to the shame of the person, and it's just gossiping. Achimelech would not even say, no, it's true. I allowed him to ask the Urim V'Tumim. I gave him food. I gave him a sword. But in any way, the guy is doing rechilut. Why? Because we're going to learn here that Mr. Doeg is full of jealousy. He cannot accept or tolerate the new star in Israel called, who's the new star? David. He can't accept it. And therefore he's trying to bring up a story in any way or form or fashion that maybe will arouse the hatred of Shaul, and then David will be finished off. So right now what we're understanding is how he spoke and what he put in order. Aleph, we said he changed the order of events, And he's doing in order to protect himself, of course, that if Shaul thinks that David is going to be living by Achimelech, it can't be. Doeg is printing a story, he's painting a story that as if David wants to ask a national matter, how does he combat Shaul? Now, do you notice what's not written? Can you imagine what Doeg did not tell? What's not written here? What in his story did he not tell? The Malbim asks. What did he not say in the story about David here in this place called Nov? Did he tell why David is asking for food? No. That he's starving to death, that he hasn't eaten perhaps in 3 days? He didn't do it, which is a sakana. It's a pikuach nefesh matter, right? Even if Achimelech would know that he's fleeing, whatever. In any event, you have to help someone out. Now, when it says that he gave him supplies, it sounds as if he's feeding him for the next couple of days. What didn't he say? That he needed food not just for himself, but he needed food for his troops, right? He mentioned five, the number 5, you have 5 breads. So we're assuming he's meeting up with 4 additional people at least, right? He didn't say that. Okay? Did he say that David asked for some sort of weapon? He didn't say that. David didn't ask for who? Goliath's sword. David simply asked, do you have any weapon for you? I'm on my route. I didn't have time to take something. All these things we see the Malbim points out very, very interestingly that Doeg doesn't bother telling the entire story. Okay? Does he say, does Doeg say that David pointed out to Achimelech that he's on a national mission, that he's the shaliach of who? Of Shaul the Melech? He didn't say that whatsoever. Okay? So all these matters are troubling. We see that he's into mischief, causing trouble, and because of Doeg, 85 Kohanim men are killed, in addition to others. What?
Doeg killed him himself.
Doeg did it. Okay. I'm going to get to that point in a moment. Where is David right now at this time? He's in Eretz Yehuda. He's not far, right? We said Nov is in Binyamin area, probably close to Yerushalayim. David is okay. We didn't point out where he is. We talked about Yar. What was the name of that forest? Yar Charet. Some do say that it's already towards the Negev, between Yam HaMelech and the Negev area. So he's not adjacent. He's not right now under matter. But let's just point out regarding Eretz Yehuda. We all know that the prophecy of Yaakov Avinu, okay? The prophecy of Yaakov Avinu regarding the military abilities of the tribe of Yehuda. Often when we see a population count, when Israel's going to war, we hear about Israel, and then we hear about Yehuda separately. We often ask the question, why is it that Yehuda is mentioned separately? So we can understand, like according to the words of Yaakov Avinu, Yadecha be'oref oivecha. You, Yehuda, Judah, your hand will be at the neck of your enemies. Or another term which talks about military abilities, Gur Aryeh Yehuda. Your Yehuda is likened to a lion's cub, okay? Or Kara, Ravat, Karyeh. You can what? That's the song of Netzach Yehuda, right? There you go. Kara Ravat Karyeh. You're gonna bend over and get ready in order to climb on your prey. So it's clear that this prophecy now of Yaakov Avinu is slowly coming into realization. First, when we conquer the country, Eretz Yehuda, by Nachalat Yehuda, during the time of Yoshua. In Shoftim, when the question was brought in Shoftim Aleph, who will be the first tribe to go up against the Canaanites? Who is the one that volunteered to go up first? Yehuda Yale. Okay. Who was the first of all Shoftim? Otniel ben Kenaz. So we see clear leadership abilities. Rav Ariel in his book on Sefer Shoftim from the Golan, Rav Yigal Ariel, brings these points out that we're seeing how Yehuda has taken leadership in places. And right now, to lead the entire country, we don't have. But right now, David is showing signs of leadership, showing signs of direction and leading other groups. And right now, it's a very unfortunate thing, but we're learning here about the murder, the simple murder of the people of here. Now, I don't know if we noticed yesterday, look at the, it's not just the men or the Kohanim. Look after Pasuk Yud Chet. Do you see it? Vayomer Melech leDoeg Sov Ata Avsar Yifka BaKohanim. Vayisov, he turns around, Doeg Adomi, Vayifka BaKohanim, Vayamed Bayamahu Shmonim v'chamisha ish Nusei Ephod Bad. Like 85 of these Kohanim were persons that had the particular ability, potential, to be wearing the ephod, which is not one of the common clothing of the Kohen Ediot, but it's only one of the Shmonim Begadim of a Kohen Gadol, the ephod. So they're not 85 Kohanim Gadolim. Don't think mistakenly they're 85 Kohanim Gadolim, but rather these 85 Kohanim potentially can be so great that they themselves can be like a Kohen Gadol. And now we hear the further terrible information. Pasuk Yutet, what does it say? Vetnovir HaKohanim is where we left off. We're learning here about Mechamet Amalek in Parshat Shavua. The terms used here, Mechamet Amalek, Parshat Bishalach. The terms used here, unfortunately, is that Shaul judged this city as if it's like an Ir Nidachat. Everyone has to be wiped away, men and women, meaning not Kohanim, sucklings and mothers, nursing mothers, and so on and so forth. So it seems to be a very sad matter. We're going to learn later that where the Mishkan is now Nov, do you remember which people are servants in the Mishkan? Who are servants? The Givonim. The Givonim, okay, they were living here in Ir, the city of Nov. And do you remember the condition that Yeshua made and Shaul put it to use? That they will be, because they tricked the Jewish people into making a Brit. Really, they're Givonim. Givono is over here. Right after Ramot, right after Shmuel and Navi, we come to the area of Givon. There's an Arab village they're called El Jib. Give, you hear the name, Givonim. Unfortunately, that was the town where Nachshon Waxman, after he was abducted by the terrorists, he was brought to that village. This is 25 years ago. An Israeli citizen who was also an American U.S. citizen, and he was abducted. He was brought to that village, El Jib. Okay, my God, it's not far. No, it's a few kilometers. It's 2 kilometers north and a kilometer going east. It's not that far, but anyway, the Givonim, as you know, Yoshua made a condition with them: we'll let you live, but you will be what? Shoavei mayim, kortei etzim v'shoavei mayim. You'll be wood choppers, wood cutters, and you're going to be water drawers. They were living there. Apparently, Shaul commanded to murder also these Givonim, as we'll learn later up ahead. And he also thought that what? That they, like the Kohanim there, are up against him, up against Shaul. So he thought that the Givonim are betraying him as well. And here, terrible, as if he's wiping out Amalek, women and children, everyone, shor v'chamor. I want you to know, Chazal come out. Do you remember the same Shaul? Who did he let live in a war against Agag? Agag. And what else was left alive?
The sheep.
You can't answer all the questions. You got to give the other people to answer the question. Who else was left alive? The flock of sheep. The same Shaul that didn't wipe out who? All matters of Amalek, He himself now, what is he doing? He's wiping out everyone in the city.
Did he think he's doing tshuva?
He thought he's doing the right thing, but he's crazy. It's frantic. Chazal come out and say a very famous drasha. I want to share this with you. Yatzta bat kol. There was a bat kol from heaven that came out and said, regarding the leaving of Agag and their sheep, Al titzadik arbei. Shlomo Melech in Mishlei, right? Or Kohelet. Don't be such a great tzaddik. Yeah, you think you're being a tzaddik by allowing Agag to be, you want to bring him to ABC Broadcasting and bring him on world television that the Jews captured him? Don't be such a tzaddik. That's what the bat kol is saying to Shaul when he leaves alive Agag and the sheep. Okay? But now in Nov, the bat kol comes out and says to Shaul, Al tehi rasha harbe. Don't be so cruel. Don't be so cruel. Why? If you have mercy on those that you're supposed to be what? Cruel to? Chazal say, Rabbi Shmuel ben Lakish says, that in the end, you're going to be cruel to those that you should have mercy for. Do you understand that? Kol ha-merachem al achzarim, sofo shiachzer al ha-rachmanim. You got that? Yeah. That's what Chazal say. Rabbi Shmuel ben Lakish. It's brought here in the Radak. Okay. One more second. So let's go on now. We have one survivor, like we said. Pasuk Kaf. Vayimaleit ben echad la'achimelech ben achituv u'shmo Evyatar. Later he'll become a Kohen Gadol. What?
He wanted to be Menachem
on who?
Zarim, on stone the Gemara.
No, he didn't want ever. He wanted to ask God, what happens if they do tshuva? That's what he wanted to know. A person's door of tshuva is never always closed. Always the doors of tshuva. Maybe the people will do tshuva. Maybe a great tzaddik like David Hayes will go move there, and maybe you'll have so much an impression on the Rishaim there that they'll do tshuva.
Work on myself. Yeah.
Oh, you also have to work yourself. Baruch haba to the Moadon. Now I know I'm not alone to have to do tshuva. Well, I really feel better now. Okay. So then, gentlemen, is it natural that Evyatar, where does he escape to? Vayivrach acharei David. He knows Evyatar, he's on the hit list. If everyone is wiped out, his Abba, his Ima, his brothers, his uncles, they're all wiped out in Nov. He's the only one left. He says, wow, I got to join David. There's no other thing to do, but I must join David. And that's exactly what he does. Why? The entire family is wiped out. Pasuk Kaf Aleph. Vayaged Evyatar le David ki harag Shaul et Kohanei Adonai. Wow. Here it is. Now, if you were David and you hear the terrible news, this calamity that Shaul, who's crazy to kill you, has now killed what? All the people in Nov. And you think you know where it comes from. You know that Doeg was there when you were in Nov. You know he was there. And he heard the conversation and he watched. And you know him. What do you do? How do you react? If you're David, do you react with anger against Shaul? How do you react? What do you say? Pasuk Kaf Bet 22. David says, I'm taking responsibility. He's so sorry. Vayomer David le'Evyatar, Yadati, I knew this. Vayomahu, on that day, I knew it might happen, God forbid. Why? Kisham do'ega domi. He was there. Ki aged yagidish, I was afraid he's going to speak up to Shaul. And now he says, you can't believe it, how righteous David is. Anochi saboti. I am the siba. I'm the cause. Bechol nefesh beit avicha. Wow. Ani garamti. It's my cause. I'm the one that caused this. That your father's house, Achimelech's house, that they're all killed. Now, David is so sorry that everyone was wiped out because of his coming to the Mishkan. He had no intentions it can happen, of course. And now you know that David is now accepting the achrayut, There's even a Gemara, Masechet Sanhedrin, where HaKadosh Baruch Hu says to David, okay, it's because of you. It's because of you that he killed Nov, the city of the Kohanim. You know what you need, David? You need kapara. If David is taking above and beyond the call of law responsibility, that means you need kapara. So this is something that we're going to see later on when there's a Chilul Hashem. We find out that these Givonim were killed, and it's published in the New York Times and in the London Tribune, that the Jews went against their condition that they made hundreds of years ago with Joshua, and the word got out that that the Givonim were killed. Do you know what David's going to have to do? He's going to have to hand over sons of Shaul as revenge for the killing of that. We'll see that later, God willing, in Shmuel Bet.
Isn't that weird? Like he can't cut the robe of Shaul because he's the anointed one of Hashem. So
no, he can, but he doesn't want to. That's his own management.
But he gets punishment. So he didn't want to touch the anointed of Hashem, but now he's giving over the children of it.
Right now, he's taking responsibility for Kohanim being killed. We're going to see years or decades later how he's going to stand up to do something which is so difficult. He's going to hand over the children of Shaul to be killed as a revenge of the Givonim. We're going to see that later. Tov, you're David. You're somewhere now between the Yam HaMelech and the Negev in the Yar Charut. Somewhere there, they say. What do? You hear the news. Evyatar arrives. My father, my parents, my uncles, my brothers, everyone's wiped out. David hears the news. What does he do? The Tanakh now begins to tell us about an invasion by the Plishtim in southern Israel. Does David interfere? Does he not? Who's the king? Who's the boss? Remember, slowly we see David taking on more national responsibility. Let's now learn what happens and what are the consequences of this invasion. Is it a military invasion? Is it something economic? Let's read it. Perek of Gimel. Vayagidu le David lemor. David's hanging out somewhere, Yam HaMelech, Negev area. He's told about, Hine, behold, Flishtim nilchamim beki'ila, vehema shosim et hagranot. Interesting. What is stated here? What are they doing? They're in a place called Ki'ila. Some say it's a little north of the Lachish area. Maybe not far from, it's in between the Plishtim area and the Judean area. Kila is a town. And what does it mean that they are shosim et hagranot? Huh? What are they doing? Shosim is that they're granot. What are granot? Are the granaries, the area where we're storing where we do the threshing. Where a goren is the threshing floor, where we do the threshing of the wheat. And what are they doing? They're destroying it. So on the one hand, it says nilchamim, they're fighting, but I don't understand. It says that they are destroying the granot. My dear friends, why doesn't it not say v'nei plishtim lochamim? The verb should have been in the active tense, lochamim, but here it says nilchamim. When you do lechima, fighting, your object basically is to capture the city, okay? And usually it says someone is lochem, but here it says nilchamim beki'ila. So what we have to learn here is they are trying to devastate the Jewish town called Kila economically. Their invasion into the town here is something like you hear happening in southern Israel, negative. There are Bedouins and others that are infiltrating into farms of Jewish people. So too sometimes up north or Judea and Samaria. They go in, they steal irrigation equipment. They steal tractors and this, and they steal sheep and cattle, and economically hitting. Now, when David hears this, by reading the next pasuk, has he made a decision? Has he made a decision? Yes or no? No. He hasn't made a decision. He wants to ask God. He apparently has in his hands the Urim v'Tumim, the ephod, Or he has.
You can use like that. It doesn't need the
Very good.
Or it's like
So Rambam brings that if there are national matters involved, that kings and public leaders are allowed to use the ephod in order to ask national questions.
it's like doing through the hands of Abiatar.
Yes, yes. Apparently through the hands of Yevditar. Now the question is, why should he involve himself? Is it a physical war? Are they coming to attack the Plishtim area? I mean, are they coming to attack Israel and conquer Keilah? No, they're just causing economic devastation. So, are you aware, a famous Gemara, Masechet Shabbat, it's brought to the Shulchan Aruch. Mishnah Berurah comments on it, of course. What happens if nations, Gentiles, come to the borders of Israel on economic matters, and they cause economic devastation? Are we or not allowed to be Mechalel Shabbat and go there and take care of them? So the Gemara says that regarding kash v'teven, straw, basic building materials, if kash v'teven, it's a term that the Gemara uses. Teven is also like straw. I don't know what the difference, what type of straw. If they're coming economically to cause you harm at the borders of Israel, do you know what you're allowed to do? You're allowed to take arms on Shabbat and go there and take care of them. Why? Because if they're going to be infiltrating at the borders for economic matters, right now it's for economic matters. But it could be that the next stage, if you're going to be quiet, will be they'll take over your town. They'll take over your town. So I'm sure David knows this Gemara, even though the Gemara is not written. So what is his doubt? Why is he going ahead and asking the question? Let's read the question. Pasuk Bet. Vayishal David badunai lemor. Ha'elech v'hiketi ba'plishtim ha'ela. Should I go up? Should I go and fight them? These plishtim? Why is he asking this question? Okay? Don't we know that if Goyim are coming on economic matters, and that's what the Plishtim are doing, they're devastating Israel economically, the Gemara says in Masechet Eruvin that if it's even on Shabbat, on a frontier city, that even though it's only Dinei Mamanot, it's not Dinei Nefashot, but it's only Dinei Mamanot, monetary matters and not life and death matters, you're allowed to be Mechalel Shabbat. Why? Because if you don't stop them now, they will capture the land of Israel. Now David knows this halacha. Why is he debating? Why does he have a safek, a doubt, that he's going ahead and asking God?
He doesn't know if he should reveal himself to Shaul. Beautiful answer. The Mefarshim say that his doubt is, should he act now like a king? Should he take national responsibility and show up with his 400 people, whatever, and go up against the enemy? Or should he remain quiet, let Shaul go out and do all these things? Or, right now we should say maybe Shaul is frantically trying to kill. It's like psychotic. He's trying to kill David. He can't concentrate or deal with national issues, national matters. Maybe he's incompetent and he won't be able to do these things. So maybe David should take the responsibility. Okay? So David has a safek. Should I go out to war against the Plishtim as responsibility of the king going out? Responsibility for Klal Yisrael? And who has the responsibility? Whoever is the king. On the one hand, you're right, David doesn't want to act like a king. He doesn't want to rock the boat. Vis-a-vis Shaul. But on the other hand, David knows who's not going out to war against them. Shaul is not doing. So right now, maybe, even though you don't want to hurt Shaul,